the points for biodiversity loss, describe them in brief. Okay? Briefly describe them. Don't give case studies in all in rest of the points, because question has asked with specific focus on the wildlife and hunting, sorry, poaching and illegal hunting, and your ह्यूमन वाइल्ड लाइफ कॉन्फ्लिक्ट्स. तो इस केस में क्या होगा, पॉइंट्स सारे मेंशन करोगे, लेकिन इन दो के बारे में आपको केस स्टडी के थ्रू जस्टिफाई करना होगा, डेटा देना होगा, केस स्टडी देना होगा. अगर क्वेश्चन में वो स्पेशल फोकस के लिए नहीं बोलते हैं तो आपको सभी पॉइंट्स पर फोकस करके हर एक में एक केस स्टडी और एक सूटेबल एग्जांपल देना होगा. ठीक है. सो आई होप you understood how you are supposed to write, you are supposed to write your answer when the question comes in relation to the loss and threats of biodiversity. Is it clear, beta? ये क्लियर है? Okay, so I'll share my screen now and we will continue where we have left yesterday. Okay, so now I'll share my screen and we are on. Fine. So now we come to a very important section, discussing very important section of the biodiversity, that is the biogeographical zones. Now, can anyone tell why is it significant to study biogeographical zones to understand biodiversity? Anyone? I hope you understood my question. Okay, my question is कि बायोडिवर्सिटी को समझने के लिए बायोजियोग्राफिकल जोन्स का जानना जरूरी क्यों है? Why is it included? Why don't we simply focus on, ठीक है, what is biodiversity, how the biodiversity laws and policies have been framed, how the biodiversity, the losses to biodiversity is happening, what are the consequences of the biodiversity loss, what is the importance of understanding the biogeographical zones to understand biodiversity? Anyone?
And by studying about biogeographical zones, we can learn about how diverse the area is.
Very good, very good. Yes, that is the most important significances. Like once we know, okay, this is our nation. These are the different zones which have this type of a climate, this type of forest, this type of vegetation. We are able to have a picture of the okay, what particular region is occupied by which major species. Okay, so by identifying those zones, by marking those zones, it becomes easier to observe, easier to keep an eye on the number of species as well as in protecting them. Okay, so the study of biogeographical zones is very important in understanding biodiversity, because first it gives us the information of the variety, the variation in the flora and the fauna, and secondly it makes it easy, it aligns us, it focuses us, it makes it easier to focus on the conservation of the species, on observing the track of the species, whether they are getting extinct, whether they are endangered, whether their population is declining, whether their population is growing, and so on. Okay, so the biogeographical zones is we will join and connect the points from different type of forest ecosystems when we were dealing with unit 3. ठीक है, तो हम वहां से कुछ पॉइंट्स उठाएंगे और यहाँ पर मेजर फ्लोरा और फौना को फोकस करके we will try to understand what are different biogeographical zones. So now if we talk about biogeographical zones, around 11 to 12 biogeographical zones are there. So different books and different ecologists have divided or subdivided India into several zones. तो किसी में 12 होते हैं, किसी में आपको 14 देखेंगे, किसी में और in detail जाएंगे तो there will be even more depth. If you percolate deeper, then you will find that more and more number of the biogeographical zones are distributed. However, these 11 are the biogeographical zones which is sufficient for you to observe and understand the pattern of India. Okay, so the first is the Trans-Himalayan. Let's go from top to bottom. ठीक, अच्छा इसका इमेज अगर आप रखोगे अपने दिमाग में और अगर आपको आइडिया होगा कि इस जगह पर ये क्लाइमेटिक फैक्टर्स हैं, it will be very easy, it will be easier for you to conceptualize what will be the type of vegetation there, what will be the type of animals there. That will be forever. Means ऐसा नहीं कि आपने अभी याद किया फिर भूल गए. फ्यूचर में भी इफ दैट पिक्चर इज देयर इन योर हेड और आपके दिमाग में कंसेप्ट होगा ओके दिस इस पार्ट में ऐसा टेम्परेचर और ये फैक्टर्स हैं, you will be easily able to pick at least 1 or 2 examples to describe the flora or fauna of that region. ठीक है, so let's start from the top of the India, that is your Trans-Himalayan zone. Now trans का मतलब है beyond Himalayas, means beyond Himalayas means not in terms of distance but in terms of height. Okay, so this zone is highly frigid, is mostly occupied by glaciers. There is no such vegetation there, no trees and plants are there. Small mosses and some very wild small shrubs can be seen sparsely. So this region looks like cold desert. Okay, where you have rivers, where you have mountains, where you have rocks, but we don't see much of the vegetation or the plants or trees there. Okay, because it's very dry. The region is very less, has a very scanty rainfall, and the temperature is very cold here. Okay, but these regions are highly significant because they contain glaciers, which provides the life to the some of the major rivers of our country. Okay? So this forms your Trans-Himalayan zone. So in this region, your Leh, Ladakh, these parts come. Okay. Now, beneath this layer of Himalayan zone comes your Himalayan zone. ठीक. Now this Himalayan zone मैं जहाँ पर पॉइंटर मार्क कर रही हूँ, ये पूरा आपका नॉर्थ से नॉर्थ ईस्ट के बेल्ट में स्ट्रेच करता है. ठीक है, दिस एंटायर बेल्ट. बट बिकॉज दिस पार्ट इज नेपाल एंड दिस पार्ट इज भूटान, सो वी आर नॉट टेकिंग दैट इनटू कंसिडरेशन. So we can say that Himalayan zone can be divided into 3 parts: middle part, the northeastern part, and the western part of Himalayas. Now these are at lower height as compared to Trans-Himalayan zone, so they have vegetation. Now that vegetation is different in these regions. How? नॉर्थ ईस्ट में आपका बहुत ज़्यादा रेनफॉल होता है, तो यहाँ पर आपके वेट फॉरेस्ट हैं, बट दे आर नॉट ट्रॉपिकल, दे आर सब ट्रॉपिकल. क्योंकि ट्रॉपिकल तब होगा जब वहाँ पर टेम्परेचर हाई होगा. ठीक, यहाँ पर टेम्परेचर बहुत ठंडे हैं, सो इट्स सब ट्रॉपिकल और टेम्परेट टाइप ऑफ वेट एवरग्रीन और रेन फॉरेस्ट आते हैं. ठीक, आपके वेस्टर्न पार्ट ऑफ हिमालय में, जो कि अगेन दे आर वेरी कोल्ड एंड दे हैव नॉट as high as rainfall as that of northeast, they have medium amount of rainfall, so they generally comprise of a coniferous evergreen trees and forest. Okay, and similarly the Sikkim and Gangetok region, which comprise of the Himalayan zone, it has a vegetation similar to that of your eastern part of your, or we can say northeastern part of Himalayas. ठीक है, ये clear हो गया बेटा? Is it clear?
Yes,
fine. So that is why we can see that it is divided into Western Himalayas and into Eastern Himalayas. Eastern Himalayas is the northeastern part. Western Himalayas is that of here towards the northern side. ठीक, और Western Himalayas में rainfall कम है. इसकी वजह से यहाँ पर जो vegetation है that is mostly dominant by your coniferous and evergreen forest. In northeast, because of heavy and huge rainfall and lower temperature, they have a rainforest. But those are not tropical rainforests, those are subtropical or temperate type of rainforests. Okay, fine. Next comes is the desert zone. We all know about deserts: scanty rainfall, very high temperature, so the vegetation is very thorny, very bushy, and and the modification is that they are not very leafy. ज़्यादातर thorns की modifications हैं. ठीक है. Now next we come to is the semi-arid zone. Now semi-arid zone क्यों है? Because it is a transition. इट इज अ ट्रांजिशन बिटवीन योर एरिड जोन एंड आपका ये पूरा जोन, मतलब कह सकते हैं कि एरिड जोन के पेरीफेरी के जितने भी रीजन्स हैं दे कैन बी कंसिडर्ड एज सेमी एरिड रीजन्स। ठीक, अब आपके वो पार्ट्स, जैसे फॉर एग्जांपल आपका ये जो गुजरात का नॉर्दर्न पार्ट है, ठीक, अभी ये आपका डेजर्ट पाथ से लगा हुआ है, सो दिस विल बी सेमी एरिड। ठीक, आपके इस डेजर्ट पार्ट से ये पूरा रीजन लगा हुआ है, दिस इज योर सेमी एरिड जोन। आपके इस डेजर्ट पार्ट से नॉर्दर्न पार्ट में ये लगा हुआ है, दिस इज सेमी एरिड रीजन। ठीक, मींस दिस इज द ट्रांजिशन which so that this will have a climate bit slightly similar to that of arid region and to whatever adjacent zone is there on the other side. For example, अगर हम ये वाला रीजन लेते हैं, ठीक, अभी इसके वेस्टर्न साइड में आपका एरिड पार्ट है, बट उसके ईस्टर्न साइड में आपको देख रहे हो कि आपका गैंगेटिक पार्ट है, तो इसमें पार्टली गैंगेटिक वाले टाइप का वेजिटेशन होगा और पार्टली आपके एरिड टाइप वाला वेजिटेशन होगा। आई डिस्क्राइब यू, ठीक है, जब मैं बताऊंगी एग्जांपल लेके हर एक जोन का, देयर यू विल हैव अ क्लियर पिक्चर ऑन दैट। ठीक, सिमिलरली अगर हम गुजरात के नॉर्दर्न पार्ट के बारे में बात करेंगे, सो ऊपर की तरफ में तो इसका एरिड वाले पार्ट का वेजिटेशन सिमिलर होगा, डाउन साउथ में या इसके सदर्न पार्ट में आपके इस रीजन का जो भी क्लाइमेट होगा या जो भी फैक्टर्स होंगे दैट इज सिमिलर टू दैट ऑफ द कोस्टल एरियाज, वो आपका इसका पार्ट होगा। ठीक है, so next we come to is your Western Ghat. Now we generally get confused with that of coastal zone and Western Ghat. Now it is different. ठीक, जब मैं वेस्टर्न घाट बोल रही हूँ तो ये कोस्टल के अंदर के साइड में, ठीक है, ये कोस्ट से लगे हुए हैं, दैट इज वन अनदर थिंग, बट दे आर टुवर्ड्स इनसाइड ऑफ द कोस्टल रीजन, दैट इज वेस्टर्न घाट। एंड वेस्टर्न घाट इज वेरी वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट बिकॉज दे आर एग्जाम्पल ऑफ द ट्रॉपिकल रेन फॉरेस्ट इन इंडिया। ठीक, एंड मोस्टली ट्रॉपिकल रेन फॉरेस्ट आर द रीजन्स across the globe that contains majority of the diversification in the living beings. Okay? So therefore Western Ghat is very important. When we will talk about and discuss about hotspots, we will understand it better there. Okay? Now the major part of our country is composed of Deccan Plateau. ठीक, now what is plateau? Plateau और hill में क्या difference होता है? Hills are generally, or the mountains, they are peak. They have peak. Peak का मतलब वैसे भी नहीं कि एकदम cone shaped हो, but they are generally not flat lying area, बहुत ज़्यादा नहीं होता है। Plateau is like a table, ठीक, जिसमें कि आपका height है और ऊपर में एकदम चपटा सतह है। That is known as that is known as your plateau. So that is difference between a plateau and a hill. Second important difference is that hills or mountains, they are of great height, but plateau का बहुत ही moderate high होता है। At maximum they will be around 1000 meters or maybe around 1100 meters, not more than that. On an average, their height goes from 800 to 900 meters. ठीक है, now another important, so Deccan Plateau comprises of most of the region. आपका जितना भी central part of India है, आपका southern part of India है, that comprises of your Deccan Plateau. Now the fifth part is your Gangetic Plain. This is very very important part. This plain is composed of rivers and it comprises of alluvial soil. ठीक है, and that makes it one of the most important and fertile regions of the globe. ठीक, now we come to the northeast zone. Now northeast zone and the eastern zone of Himalayas, they are slightly different. आपके ये northeast zone में जो forest है उसमें temperature slightly higher है as compared to that of the Himalayan zone 1. ठीक, so इसमें आपके tropical rain forest जैसा कुछ रहेगा, not as hot and as biodiversified as that of Western Ghat, but still they have bit warmer temperature as compared to that of your third part, that was your Himalayan zone, eastern part of Himalayan zone. Okay, now then is the coastal zone. So coast, जितना भी coast line पर आपके vegetation है, flora fauna है, that will describe your coastal zone. And lastly but not the least, we have great group of islands. These are two great groups of islands. One is your Lakshadweep and another group of islands are your Andaman and Nicobar. Okay, is this distribution clear? दिमाग में आपकी image बन गई, आपको थोड़ा थोड़ा अंदाजा हो गया कि किस जगह पर क्या टेम्परेचर है। फॉर एग्जाम्पल आपके सदर्न पार्ट में ट्रॉपिकल टाइप का क्लाइमेट है, ठीक है, बिकॉज इट इज क्लोज टू योर इक्वेटर। नॉर्दर्न पार्ट में आपका सब ट्रॉपिकल है, ठीक, मतलब एग्जैक्टली ठंडा भी नहीं है क्योंकि इसके ऊपर के जोन्स जो है दैट इज योर टेम्परेट जोन। if you recall what zones I have told when I was describing and when I was explaining ecosystem, you will have a picture. Temperate zone इसके ऊपर आते हैं, tropical zone नीचे है, तो ये mid zone transition zone है, that is your subtropical zone. तो इस पूरे एरिया में आपके subtropical टाइप का क्लाइमेट रहता है, ठीक. And this part is very very dry, so definitely we don't have much of the vegetation here. So forest distribution भी इन्होंने यहाँ दिखाया है. These light green parts, they are tropical moist forest. So let's see, वेस्टर्न घाट्स में है एंड द ईस्टर्न पार्ट, ठीक. मैंने नॉर्थ ईस्टर्न पार्ट में इसलिए नहीं कहा क्योंकि ये मॉइस्ट फॉरेस्ट है यहाँ पर, बट दैट इज नॉट ट्रॉपिकल, क्योंकि यहाँ पर टेम्परेचर और भी ज्यादा ठंडा है. ओके, सो दोज आर योर टेम्परेट और सब ट्रॉपिकल टाइप ऑफ फॉरेस्ट, ठीक है. तो हम देख सकते हैं आपका पीला और ये धानी रंग का ये कलर मिक्सअप है इन रीजन्स में, ठीक है. सो दे हैव स्लाइटली सब ट्रॉपिकल फॉरेस्ट इस वाले पार्ट में, और इस वाले में स्ट्रिक्टली टेम्परेट फॉरेस्ट है. क्यों आपके सब ट्रॉपिकल फॉरेस्ट नहीं है? क्योंकि यहाँ पर इतनी ज्यादा रेनफॉल नहीं है जितना यहाँ पर है रेनफॉल, ठीक है. एंड alpine forests are not mainly found in Indian biogeographic zone. Maybe some type of vegetation can present in the trans Himalayan zone और Himalayan zone के बीच का जो transition zone है, वहाँ पर आप सब alpine forest थोड़ा सा देख सकते हैं, ठीक है. And this part comprises of your deciduous forest, mixture of tropical dry forest, ठीक है. Tropical dry forest को हम deciduous forest के नाम से भी कह सकते हैं, ठीक है. So these are all the distribution. Okay. So now this part is very important, especially from your examination point of view, because आप कभी-कभी आपके वो किस तरीके से क्वेश्चन पूछते हैं, like describe how India as a mega diverse nation has a biodiversity, huge biodiversity. तो वहाँ पर आपको पहले इंट्रोडक्शन में वो डेटा देना है कि हाउ इंडिया इज अ मेगा डाइवर्स कंट्री, जो आपको स्लाइड में मैंने पहले डिस्कस किया है. देन यू विल डिस्क्राइब ऑल द बायोजियोग्राफिकल जोन्स, ठीक. अदरवाइज the another way of asking the question that is generally asked is they will pick some 3 to 4 biogeographical zones and then they will ask you that taking their examples describe and justify that India is it is a very biodiverse nation, ठीक. तो say for example mostly वो क्या करते हैं, 3 regions ज़्यादातर लेते हैं, coastal ले लिया, desert ले लिया, and they will take maybe somewhere around this the plateau region. और क्या करेंगे, वो Gangetic plain ले लेंगे, desert region ले लेंगे, आपके वेस्टर्न घाट ले लेंगे, ठीक. कुछ भी वो एग्जाम्पल ले सकते हैं. तो उस केस में आपको सारे बायोजियोग्राफिकल जोन्स के बारे में लिखना नहीं है, पॉइंट आउट करना है, राइट. दैट इज इम्पोर्टेंट दैट यू हैव टू पॉइंट इट आउट, ठीक. अगर आप मैप बना के शो कर सकते हैं दैट इज वेरी गुड. अब मैप में क्या है कि डेफिनेटली आपको इंडिया का मैप नहीं बनाना है, आप एक ट्रायंगुलर शेप का भी अगर आप अप्रोक्सीमेट बनाकर मार्क कर दोगे दैट विल बी सफिशिएंट, उससे समझ में आ जाएगा, ठीक है. देन उसके बाद में अगर क्वेश्चन में 3 या 4 नाम दिए गए हैं तो सिर्फ और सिर्फ उन्हीं बायोजियोग्राफिकल जोन्स को उठाकर आपको डिस्क्राइब करना है, ठीक. अदरवाइज इफ द क्वेश्चन डजंट मेंशंस स्पेसिफिकली किसको करना है तो आपको सारे बायोजियोग्राफिकल जोन्स उठाना है, लेकिन उसको बहुत ज़्यादा डिस्क्राइब नहीं करना है. आपको उसमें थोड़े थोड़े पॉइंट्स लिख के सबको डिस्क्राइब करके जस्टिफाई करना है दैट ओके इंडिया इज द वन ऑफ द 12 मेगा डाइवर्स नेशंस अक्रॉस द ग्लोब, ठीक. सो क्या क्या पॉइंट्स आपको लिखने हैं जब भी आप किसी बायोजियोग्राफिकल जोन को डिस्क्राइब करेंगे. फिजिकल फीचर, व्हाट योर फिजिकल फीचर विल इंक्लूड, व्हाट इज द टोपोग्राफी, in case if there is height, latitude, longitude, the type of temperature, that is the high temperature is there, low temperature is there, what is an average temperature, rainfall, the type of humidity, soil type, and if at all you can tell okay what type of climate is there, whether it's temperate, whether it's tropical, whether it's subtropical, and so on, okay. Then you will come on biological features. Biological features will comprise of describing your flora and the fauna, ठीक. और फ्लोरा के केस में आपको हर एक जोन में एटलीस्ट 2 से 3 एग्जांपल्स उठाकर नाम देने ही देने हैं. If you can give an account of number of species, that will be best. But even if you are not giving data, no problem. At least जो उसके identifying species हैं, you have to take some 3 to 4 examples and you have to learn them and then have to put them, ठीक. उसके भी लर्न करने का बहुत इजी तरीका है, आई जस्ट टेल यू, ठीक. फौना के केस में यू हैव टू टेल अबाउट एनिमल्स एंड इंसेक्ट्स एंड एम्फिबियंस, एक्वेटिक स्पीशीज, बर्ड्स, मैमल्स एक्सेट्रा, एग्जांपल्स इफ यू, ठीक. ये पॉइंट्स आपके बायोजियोग्राफिकल जोन्स में आएंगे. ओके, वन मोर थिंग, फिजिकल फीचर्स और बायोलॉजिकल फीचर्स के अलावा यू हैव टू आल्सो मेंशन अबाउट लोकेशन एंड व्हाट स्टेट्स आर कवर्ड इन इट, Okay. So say for example, if I ask you, if I put an immediate question in front of you, okay, uh, describing Delhi, how you are going to describe Delhi, in which biogeographical zone Delhi lies, and focusing on that, can you describe about the vegetation of the Delhi? Batao. Yes. Okay, I hope you understood my question.
Yes, ma'am.
या तो आप मैप को दिमाग में रख के सोचो कि दिल्ली कहाँ पर है और कौन कौन से बायोजियोग्राफिकल जोन्स वहां पर प्रेजेंट होंगे. जब आप वो बता लोगे और जो आइडेंटिफाई कर लोगे, देन इट विल बी इजियर फॉर यू टू टेल अबाउट व्हाट टाइप ऑफ वेजिटेशन विल बी देयर. यस, कम ऑन, गो ऑन. ठीक है, चलो मैं थोड़ा सा बताती हूँ. आपका दिल्ली कहीं इस पार्ट में है. ठीक है, आई हैव केप्ट माय एरो. अब सोचो और बताओ.
It can be in semi-arid region.
वेरी गुड. एंड वेरी गुड. और कौन कौन से जोन हो सकते हैं? Think about the eastern side of Delhi.
Gangetic Park.
Very good.
North
Very good.
zone.
Very good. Very good. Very good. ठीक है. So if we talk about Delhi, तो जैसे मैं pointer दिखा रही हूँ, तो you can see that some part of it contains your semi-arid part, and the eastern part comprises of part of your Gangetic Plain. And the best way to understand is, if you go towards the Noida side, which is adjacent to your to the UP, there you will see the normal farmlands, alluvial soil, the stretches of agricultural land that shares the part of your Gangetic Plain. Okay, but if you talk about the southern part of the Delhi, which is shared towards the Haryana side, you'll see that that is mostly dominated by your Aravalli forests, and that Aravalli forest stretches up to your Rajasthan. So that becomes your semi-arid part. So that is how, and so we can see that the Delhi contains a mixture of two types of vegetation. One that is adjacent towards the Gangetic Plain side, and another that is adjacent to your semi-arid part. Okay, so depending upon that, we also have an idea of the amount of rainfall. So the rainfall is somewhere, the average rainfall is somewhere in transition between your arid and your alluvial or the Gangetic Plain. Okay, similar is about the temperatures and your vegetation also. Okay, so if it comes to describe about the vegetation, you will include the vegetation that is there in the semi-arid zone, which is towards the southern part and partly towards the northern part of your Delhi, and towards your eastern part of your Delhi, which shares the boundary with UP, that contains the vegetation which is similar to that of your the alluvial plain. Okay, once you go beyond that, you will see stretches of agricultural land, alluvial soil, and the type of vegetation there. Okay, is it clear? किसी को कोई doubt बेटा? Anyone, any doubt? Hello. Beta, am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Fine. Okay. So let's discuss about all these biogeographical zones in detail. Okay. Now, if we talk about trans-Himalayan zones, I have already told you what are the points that you are supposed to mention when you are going to describe any biogeographical zone. Let's begin with locating them in the map of India. Second, describe their physical features that will include humidity, temperature, rainfall, and the height, the altitude, and the edaphic factors, if at all, for example, soil type. Okay, and followed by the biological description, which will include the species of flora and the fauna. Okay, so let's begin with the describing physical features. Of course, it's cold, and as I had already told you, because it has a scanty rainfall, the rainfall is very less, temperature is very cold. So it is also a type of an arid region. With a difference, it's a cold desert sort of situation here. Okay, and the heights are on an average around 4,500 meters. That is an average height. Otherwise, if you think of the stretches of Himalayas, so they mostly extend beyond your 14,000 feet. Okay, the vegetation is very sparse, and if we talk about the flora and fauna, if we talk about fauna especially, so they have one of the richest species of wild sheep and communities of goat in the world. Hmm. The extensive area is covered by bare rocks and glaciers, but that doesn't mean that it doesn't contain fauna. Of course, the number or the abundance and richness may be a bit lesser as compared to that of your tropical forest, but it does contain some of the diversity in sheep and cats and in goats. Okay, so they have wild sheep, wild goats, ibex is one of the species of goat, and then in wild cats they have snow leopard, marble cats, marmots, and in birds they have black neck cranes, and all these fauna are found. Okay, so one of the keystone species of this region is Marco Polo sheep. They have a huge horns. You can see the picture, and sometimes their weight exceeds the weight of the total weight or the whole weight of their body. Okay, now Bactrian camel, quite close to the camels that we see in the deserts, but of course a bit different. Bactrian camel. Okay. So now we come to the Himalayas. Okay. Now Himalayas, as compared to your Trans Himalayas, have comparatively greater amount of rainfall. So they have a good amount of moisture. They have good amount of humidity that supports the vegetation. And the temperature is not as low as that of Trans Himalayas. So again, that is favorable for the for the growth of vegetation. Okay, so as I have already told you that Himalayas is divided into two parts. If you again recall the picture that I have told you, so that is divided into the Western Himalayas and the Eastern part of Himalayas. Now, difference between Western and Eastern part of Himalayas is that temperature-wise they are almost on the same range, but in terms of rainfall, Eastern part of Himalayas experiences much higher amount of rainfall as compared to that of Western part. Therefore, you can see the difference in the vegetation type as well. So in the western part of Himalayas, you would have more of your evergreen trees that are coniferous. But towards the eastern side of Himalayas, you will see more of the rainforest sort of vegetation that includes ferns, orchids, and other species. Okay. Especially your eastern part of Himalayas, because they have rich vegetation, so the diversity and the number of endemic species is much high. So when I'll discuss about hotspots, I'll describe their significance in terms of the major share of the biodiversity of our country. Okay. Now, if we talk about the western when I'll talk about the eastern part of Himalayas, I'll mention and I'll tell you about some of the fauna there, which is different from that of the Western Himalayas. For example, the wild sheep, mountain goats, ibex, they are mostly dominant towards your western side of Himalayas, okay, not in the Eastern Himalayas. In Eastern Himalayas, you will have species like panda or the birds like heron. All those species are there, okay. Now, Himalayas are, of course, one of the youngest stretches of mountain as compared to your Aravalli. Aravalli are one of the oldest mountain belts, and Himalayas are the youngest mountain belts. Okay. And if we talk about their soil type, so they have thick gravel and they have good amount of alluvium because they have mountains. So weathering process is high. They contain rocks, so the rate of weathering is high, and therefore they contain alluvium. So this is the source of the alluvium for the Gangetic Plain as well, because these rivers, these are fed from the glaciers. So this alluvium, whose source lies in the weathered material that they are getting from by weathering these Himalayas, that when runs off from the river and they get settled in these Gangetic Plain, they add to the fertility, and that makes one of the most fertile grounds across the world. Okay. So this is a data. You can have a look on the number of species in terms of plants, the number of angiosperms, gymnosperms. you can see there are huge species of pteridophytes. Pteridophyte comprises of your ferns. Okay, bryophytes are there, and your algae is there. Fungi, more than 23,000 species of fungi are there. Bacteria, lichens, and so on. Okay. So now we come to talk about the westernmost part of India, that is your desert, that comprises of Thar, and if you recall, somewhat a northern part of Gujarat that comprises of Kutch. Okay, they receive very low rainfall. Average rainfall is less than 25 centimeter annually, and the temperatures are very high. The average temperature goes from 30 to 50 degrees Celsius. Okay, so vegetation is very less, and some vegetation that is present is mostly confined to the regions like oases. Okay, now oases are the regions in the desert where you have some water body. So because of the water body and bit amount of moisture in the soil, some vegetation, green vegetation can be found there. Okay, otherwise that doesn't mean that there is no vegetation at all. The vegetation is there in the form of thorny bushes or in the form of shrubs, like for example your prosopis, that is kikar. Okay, some species of cactus, so they are all present in this region, and they are also having good fauna, which comprises of mostly your scorpions and snakes and mice, and mice and rats, of course, and some species of foxes. They are also present in these deserts. Okay, and black buck, of course, that is also one of the dominant species of the Thar desert. Okay, and so the states that are covered here are Rajasthan and mainly Gujarat. Okay, so you have armadillos, lizards, vultures, bats, foxes, and of course camels. They all form the part of the flora and the fauna of your desert ecosystem, or your desert biogeographic zone. Okay, so these are some of the pictures. So we can see that it's not completely devoid of the vegetation. Of course, vegetation is there. During course of evolution, they have and then they got evolved. Okay, they have changed themselves, and the leafy structures have modified themselves into thorns. Okay, so that their surface area can get reduced and the precipitation level or the transpiration rate of transpiration can be brought down, so they are able to conserve water for a longer period of time. Okay. Okay.
मैम
Yes. Bolo.
मैम डेजर्ट, मैम जो ये डेजर्ट्स हैं मैम, ये ओनली क्लाइमेटिक फैक्टर्स की वजह से हैं या फिर मैम ये बाद में इवॉल्व हुए हैं ड्यू टू द ह्यूमन एक्टिविटीज?
See, there are a number of factors when we talk about deserts. Just for example, if I talk about Sahara Desert, or if I talk about your Thar deserts, they have evolved, not evolved, they have made as a result of changes in the tectonic plates as well as in the climatic factors, which were natural. But now, because of the human factors, we are shifting these deserts towards the eastern side. For example, like when we talk about semi-arid part, okay, that is the part adjacent to these deserts, like Punjab, Haryana, Gujarat, Maharashtra, and part of Delhi. Okay, now because of the human activities here, and what are those human activities? For example, in deserts also, the sand usually comprises of some vegetation which binds the soil. But because of the changes in the pattern, and because of the removal of the vegetation, and because of the urbanization and faulty practices, this soil from the desert region is shifting towards your eastern side. This is known as a desertification. I hope you remember when I was describing in ecosystem, sorry, in resources. Okay, so there human becomes the important main factor. But naturally, when I am talking about the arid part or the Thar desert, that is naturally involved. So some theory says that long time back, this desert region contained thick forest, but because of the tectonic shifting, the moisture content, which was initially provided and fed by the rivers there, they have gone down, or they have their water went off. They became part of the groundwater system. That's why it suddenly lost its humidity and the water content, and because they are already in the tropical parts, so and the regions have less of the rainfall, so it gave rise to the desert region. Okay, I hope it is clear.
Yes, ma'am.
Fine. Okay. So I think there are multiple factors. We cannot just give one reason for their rise, there is a tectonic shifting. Means there are both the natural as well as the anthropogenic reasons, or the man-made reasons when we talk about in terms of desertification. So naturally, they are in because of the climatic factors, which are like, or the tectonic shiftings, or the low temperature, or the regions are receiving naturally, they are receiving the less of rainfall. But because of the anthropogenic activities like your removal of the vegetation, and because of the climatic change, that region which from centuries was receiving the low rainfall might receive or start receiving greater rainfall, and the regions which was earlier receiving good amount of rainfall, it starts getting very low amount of rainfall. So in that case, that region which contains forest will slowly and slowly start getting changed into a desert region. So their anthropogenic causes are taken into account. Okay, good. So when we talk about uh, flora that I've already described, thorny shrubs, grasses, cereals, and some varieties of bamboo is also there. And in terms of fauna, birds, chacals, some leopards, eagles, snakes, fox, buffalo, they are also there. Now, if we talk about Gujarat, then of course gazelle and lions are also there. No, don't think of zebra. Zebra is not here in the biogeographical zone in India. But deers, yeah, they are there. Okay, so now we are moving down south towards the western side, that is your Western Ghat. Like your northeastern part of Himalayas or the northeastern biogeographical zone, Western Ghats are also very rich in vegetation, in forest, and in biodiversity. Now, why? We have a clear reason, because the climatic factors are favorable here. They have high amount of temperature, good amount of humidity, and huge amount of rainfall. All these are the three primary factors that favors the growth of vegetation in that region. So they have a thick and dense forests, and that in turn supports the good amount of biodiversity in terms of both flora as well as the fauna. If we talk about soil, if you can recall, the soil here contains most amount of humus, and it is rich in organic content. However, it has a low amount of your nutrients like nitrogen and phosphorus. So the soil has less amount of nitrogen and phosphorus. Therefore, we also see that the plants here have, means when we talk about pitcher plants or the parasitic plants, so they are present in one of the tropical zones of the across the globe. Okay, you won't find them maybe in some deciduous or maybe in subtropical type of forest. Most of these plants, especially your parasitic plants, they are present in the tropical rainforest. Why? Because these rainforests are less of nitrogen and phosphorus in the soil. So they have developed a mechanism during the course of evolution where they can directly catch the animals from where they directly take the phosphorus and nitrogen from there. Okay, so so these are the features of the Western Ghat. They somewhere in some regions of the Western Ghat are also fertile. They are used for cultivation of rice, rubber, and your commercial crops, of course, like rubber, coffee. And Western Ghat, again, is the another hotspot, and they have huge biodiversity in terms of endemic species. Okay, they have one of the huge varieties of amphibians, butterflies, and there are several other amphibians and species which have yet not been explored. So as I have told you yesterday, then only 25% of the species have been explored as per the mathematical and statistical manipulations by Robert Mayer, who also gave the concept of hotspots. Okay, so this is all data. Now it's home to 325 globally threatened species, 16 species of endemic mammals, tigers, lion-tailed macaque, butterflies, freshwater species, and several species of insects and birds. So they are there in Western Ghats. Okay, so one of the key species of Western Ghat are lion-tailed macaque. Okay, it's an endangered species. It is mostly present in the southern part of Western Ghat, that is around your Silent Valley and Kerala, and towards the down southern part of your Karnataka. Okay, western southern part of Karnataka. Okay. So these are some of the pictures of a giant squirrel and this wild flower there, and heron, and your butterflies, and this is your lion-tailed macaque. Okay, this is highly endemic. it's present only in this region. It is found nowhere else in the world. Okay, so that makes it even more important to have to conserve them. Okay, because they are highly endemic to this specific region. They are not found anywhere else. Okay, Mother Maya line, meal me cat with a child. Okay, so now we come to the next very the major part or the major biogeographic area that is occupied by India. That is your Deccan Plateau. Okay, so if you again bring the image of India, which I have showed you right now, so you can easily follow the states that are covered in Deccan Plateau region. Okay, they comprise of part of semi-arid regions that lie in the rain shadow is the rain shadow and the leeward sides are the two sides. Okay, so if you think of like a wall, imagine that there is a wall. On one side, the clouds are striking and there is a huge amount of rainfall. That is your leeward side. Whereas the one that is opposite to it, because clouds are not able to cross that wall, so that becomes your dry parts. That is known as your rain shadow region. Okay, so the Western Ghat is one such belt. So that is why towards those places which are towards the between the coastal region and your Western Ghat, they receive huge amount of rainfall. But the one that are behind this Western Ghat wall, that is towards the inner side of Indian continent, they have a very less amount of rainfall, and there it forms your Deccan Plateau. Okay, so it is composed of one of the oldest crystalline rock. It comprises the stretches of Aravalli, and in down south it comprises of Nilgiri. Okay, so mostly it's made up of the type of rock which is granite and quartzite. Okay, so if somebody asks you if like maybe if you are going somewhere and somebody immediately asks you, okay, what type of rock bed is Delhi contains? Okay, so because Delhi has a stretch of Aravalli, and Aravalli are comprised mostly of quartzite rocks, so your Delhi part comprises is mostly, especially the southern part, is made up of your quartzite rock. But if you talk about the parts towards the Noida, they comprise of your alluvial soil. Okay. Okay, so rainfall in the Deccan Plateau region is somewhere medium, and it is around 100 to 120 centimeters on an average. Okay, in Western Ghat, the average rainfall is around 200 to 250 centimeters. Okay, the temperature of the Deccan Plateau can go up to 40 degrees in summer, but definitely, of course, not as high as that of the desert region, where the temperature can also soar up to 50 degrees Celsius. And height of these plateaux, they are on an average between 300 to 900 meters above sea levels. So this is how it looks like. Okay, so this is a bird eye view of the your Deccan Plateau. So the type of forest is, now imagine rainfall is medium, temperatures are high. So the type of vegetation here will, of course, will not at all will not be dense. It will not at all be tropical, but it will be आकृति बेटा म्यूट करो अपने आप को ओके फाइन ठीक है सो यहाँ पर जो आपका वेजिटेशन होगा दैट विल बी समवेयर neither it will be too dry like that of a desert region, nor it will be too dense like that of tropical. So this type of vegetation, which is in somewhere in between this, is your deciduous type of your forest type. Okay, and these species are dominant with one of the commercially important trees like teak, sal, shisham. Okay, so these are all the trees. Of course, if you talk about the northern part of the Deccan Plateau that shares the boundary or the transition zone with the Gangetic Plain, that comprises of the trees which we often see, like your jamun, gulmohar, amaldash, your neem, peepal. Okay, so those are all there. Those are all the deciduous type of forest. Okay, and they comprise of one of the rich regions of grasslands. So they have grazing animals, and gore is your wild buffalo. Okay, some varieties of bear, wild dogs, and tigers. They are home to these species. Okay, so this is the picture of like a wild dog is here, and you can see Chausinga, which is a species of a deer, and the Indian gore or bullock, and of course in some parts black buck is also there. So these are the species of trees. teak and your क्या कह रही थी मैं? Yeah, teak, shisham, sal. Okay, and in down south you'll also find sandalwood, neem, people towards the northern side of the Deccan Plateau that shares the transition zone with Gangetic Plain. Okay. Okay. So can anyone tell the picture that I'm showing you right now here? What part or what biogeographical zones are there? Hmm. Yes. I hope you understood my question. Now here's a picture in front of you. Can you tell? Okay, what? My focus is on like what type of biogeographical zone now?
Himalayan zone.
Okay, very good. Towards the northern side, the Himalayan zone is there. This white layer and this dark green patch, this comprise of your Himalayan zone. Fine, very good. And what else?
Ma'am, Gangetic zone as well.
Very good, very good. This entire stretch, this major stretches of Gangetic zone, Gangetic plain, okay, and this thin layer, this
Coastal.
coastal, yeah, but not much because सिर्फ इतना छोटा सा पार्ट है ये कोस्टल का ठीक है सो प्राइम फोकस इज ऑन द नॉर्दर्न साइड or the northeastern side of the country. Okay, so we can see some part of Deccan Plateau also here, where I'm marking my arrow, and towards the northeastern side, these dark patches of forest, they are your northeastern zone. Okay, we will describe it. They comprise of your tropical your rainforest, but not tropical because the temperature are cooler here, so they are subtropical. Okay, and these thin lines, this is your Brahmaputra river, this is your Ganga river. Okay, and this region is your Sundarban Delta. Okay, so when I'll describe you about Gangetic Plain, I'll show you that they are also divided into northern Gangetic Plain, central Gangetic Plain, and the southern Gangetic Plain. So their vegetation is different, and the flora and fauna also shows some differences. Okay, so I think it's already 10 or 12. I'll stop my class here. Anyone has any doubt? किसी को कोई क्वेश्चन है, कोई डाउट है क्लास?
Ma'am,
या विनीता बोलो.
ma'am, ma'am, actually, the Google sheet that you shared in the classroom, our group name was not mentioned in that sheet.